Pause for a moment. Beneath your thoughts, desires, fears, even your triumphs, there's a silent law at work. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Ignore it, and it won't strike you down outright. Instead, it quietly drains your sense of meaning, destabilizes your inner world, and fractures your relationship with yourself. Jung believed that anyone who journeys deep into the psyche eventually meets this law. And much of human suffering isn't from life's cruelty, but from ignoring it. In this video, you'll encounter one of the most unsettling truths in Jungian psychology. Listen closely. The final insight may reshape your entire inner landscape. Imagine believing you're free while invisible forces steer your choices from the dark. Jung warned, awakening isn't a gift without cost. It brings responsibility and a forbidden mistake the awakened must never make. Many fall into it unknowingly, thinking they're evolving when they're actually breaking apart. By the end, you'll understand why Jung said, consciousness without integration is more dangerous than ignorance. Before we go deeper, if this resonates, support this work, subscribe, like, share with those seeking real understanding, and drop your reflections below. What follows has shattered illusions and transformed lives. Stay to the end. The essential truth arrives only there. Carl Jung didn't see awakening as a flight toward light. He saw it as a descent, a confrontation. True awakening demands you face what you've buried. Your rejected emotions, instincts, potentials, and truths. This is where the forbidden law begins. At the heart of his work is the shadow, not evil, but everything your conscious self refuses to own. The more spiritual someone claims to be, the more dangerous their unacknowledged shadow becomes. That's the seeker's trap, chasing light while abandoning wholeness. Jung's gravest warning, identifying only with consciousness while rejecting the unconscious. This breeds inflation, not confidence, but psychic arrogance. The ego believes it's transcended human limits. Yet without grounding, such seekers grow unstable. Relationships crumble, meaning fades. Ever thought you were above anger, jealousy, or fear, only to be blindsided by them later? Jung wouldn't call that failure. That's your psyche demanding balance. Here's the law. Nothing rejected disappears. The unconscious always seeks expression. Denied consciously, it erupts as symptoms, projections, or self-sabotage. The path forward is individuation, not perfection, but integration. It's the lifelong work of uniting your conscious self with your hidden depths. Many mistake awakening for escape, from pain, contradiction, darkness. Jung insisted on the opposite. Awakening means holding those tensions consciously without denial. And here's the danger. Touch profound truths, but refuse to integrate them ethically, and your psyche fractures. Insights become weapons. Archetypes turn into justifications. You speak of destiny while acting from blind impulse. That's how the law is broken. Jung's famous line, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious, isn't poetry. It's a warning. Making darkness conscious demands humility, patience, and responsibility. Without them, awakening is just another escape. So ask yourself, are you seeking awareness to understand yourself or to avoid the parts that feel uncomfortable? This isn't judgment. It's an invitation to discernment, because the soul demands honesty above all. Sacrifice that for a spiritual identity and your psyche will rebel. This law isn't handed down by society, religion, or fate. It's woven into the very fabric of your psyche. And those who awaken without honoring it don't escape consequence. They only postpone it. It speaks not through grand revelations, but through ordinary moments, irritation, sudden attraction, unexplained fatigue, disproportionate reactions, or intense admiration. Jung saw these not as random glitches, but as signals. Ignore them, especially if you believe you're beyond such reactions, and the law tightens its hold. One of its clearest signs? Projection. What you harshly judge in others often mirrors what you've disowned in yourself. The unconscious uses projection to shield you from awareness. Instead of facing your shadow, you label others as ignorant, weak, corrupt, or dangerous. The awakened who fall into this trap speak of clarity, while living in denial, unaware they've fractured themselves. Much conflict, Jung noted, stems not from reality, but from unconscious inner images shaped by childhood, trauma, and instinct. When these remain hidden, they dictate how you see the world. The violation begins when you gain insight into this, yet refuse to take responsibility for it. Knowledge without accountability breeds imbalance. Jung cared deeply about the ethics of awakening, not moral rules, but psychological honesty. Once you see your shadow, you're accountable to it. You can't unsee it. Pretending otherwise leads to what he called a neurosis of meaning. Life feels hollow, motivation fades, anxiety grows, not because the world is broken, but because your inner order is. Crucially, the unconscious doesn't care about good intentions. If you avoid inner work while claiming higher awareness, it responds with symptoms: numbness, chronic dissatisfaction, compulsions, or depression. These aren't failures, they're messages. The law demands balance. Deny it, and suffering becomes the soul's language. Archetypes play a role too, universal patterns like the hero, the sage, or the mystic. But when the awakened unconsciously identify with them, they slip into archetypal possession. They stop living their own life and start performing a role. It feels meaningful, yet cuts them off from reality. Ever felt special for your insights, yet strangely alone? Jung wouldn't dismiss that. He'd ask, has understanding replaced genuine connection? True awakening requires groundedness. Without compassion, humility, and patience, it's incomplete. And denied incompleteness turns destructive. Another subtle breach, rejecting human limits. Jung insisted maturity means accepting that not everything can be fixed, healed, or transcended. Some tensions must be carried. Insisting on constant positivity or clarity isn't enlightenment, it's a rejection of being human. And since the psyche holds both light and dark, denying one fractures the whole. Wholeness isn't comfort, it's conscious tension. The ego craves resolution. The soul seeks truth. When they clash, the law activates. Awakening isn't measured by insight, but by how honestly you live it. So ask gently, where do you label discomfort as lower or unworthy of your attention? Where do you talk of growth while avoiding self-confrontation? These aren't accusations, they're invitations. For Jung, facing yourself was the ultimate courage. This law isn't punishment. It protects the psyche from fragmentation, masquerading as enlightenment. And when honored, something shifts. Conflict doesn't vanish, but it gains meaning. Chaos reveals pattern. Suffering becomes symbolic, a language the psyche uses to restore balance. Those who respect this law don't try to control. They learn to listen. They don't rush to decode symbols with the mind. Instead, they let those symbols work quietly within, reshaping perception and behavior from the inside out. One of Jung's deepest insights, integration isn't about conquering the unconscious. It's about entering into dialogue with it. The ego must learn to relate to the shadow, not suppress it. And that's uncomfortable. It shatters the illusion of moral superiority. The shadow often holds qualities we secretly admire in others, but reject in ourselves: strength, sensuality, ambition, vulnerability, even healthy assertiveness. When denied, these traits twist into something distorted. When embraced, they become sources of power. Jung noticed that those who honored this process developed a quiet inner authority. They stopped needing external validation, rigid identities, or spiritual labels. Their confidence wasn't loud. It was steady, grounded, and adaptable. Not the certainty of knowing all answers, but the balance of holding contradictions without collapse. Patience is essential. Jung warned against rushing inner work. Awakening isn't linear. It moves in waves. Clarity gives way to confusion, expansion to contraction. Demand constant progress, and you violate the psyche's natural rhythm. He likened individuation to a tree growing. Force it, and you damage its roots. Honoring this law also transforms how you relate to others. Projection fades. Empathy deepens. Conflict becomes revealing, not threatening. Much of our interpersonal friction, Jung said, comes from fighting outside what we refuse to face within. When the shadow is acknowledged, relationships shift from battlegrounds into mirrors. Another subtle shift emerges with integration. Life stops feeling random. Events begin to carry meaning. Jung called this synchronicity, not magic, but moments when inner and outer worlds align symbolically. It happens more often when the psyche is in harmony. Reality starts to feel participatory, not hostile. Ask yourself, are there patterns in your life that keep repeating? No matter how hard you try to change them, Jung would say they persist because they hold unintegrated meaning. Surface-level change won't dissolve them. Only understanding can. And with awareness comes responsibility. Excuses lose their grip. You can't blame fate, society, or your past for what you now clearly see in yourself. That weight may feel heavy, but it's also freeing. It returns agency to you. Those who accept this responsibility reclaim a creative, honest relationship with life. A quiet maturity follows. The goal is no longer purity, perfection, or superiority, but wholeness. You accept that real growth includes grief, loss, and humility. Jung believed true wisdom always carries a trace of sadness, not because life is bleak, but because truth strips away comforting illusions. This is where many turn back. Integration demands endurance. It asks you to stay conscious when slipping into unconsciousness would be easier. The forbidden law doesn't test your beliefs. It tests your loyalty to inner truth. Now we approach the final and most crucial layer of this law, the one that decides whether awakening leads to liberation or slow self-destruction. Jung warned, at a certain depth of awareness, neutrality ends. Consciousness itself becomes a duty. You're accountable not just for your actions, but for what you fail to do with what you know. This is the line the awakened must never cross. Break this law, and you don't destroy the world. You unravel your soul from within. The greatest danger, Jung said, isn't ignorance, it's partial awareness. Seeing enough to feel special, chosen, or superior, yet not enough to truly change how you live. At this stage, insight must become embodiment. Knowledge must move from the mind into your choices, your relationships, your character. When awareness stays only intellectual or symbolic, it turns toxic. It inflates the ego, justifies avoidance, and quietly severs you from authentic meaning. This is why Jung distrusted spiritual identities and moral masks. He saw how easily they become escapes from responsibility. People speak of acceptance but avoid hard truths. They preach compassion yet refuse accountability. They claim consciousness while manipulating, withdrawing, or dominating when challenged. The unconscious catches these contradictions instantly and responds by restoring balance, not as punishment but as law. If you inflate yourself with spiritual superiority, the unconscious humbles you through failure, collapse, or humiliation. Deny your aggression? It returns as passive hostility or self-sabotage. Reject vulnerability? It resurfaces as anxiety, emptiness, or chronic dissatisfaction. Jung also noted something uncomfortable. True awakening quietly dissolves the comfort of victimhood. This isn't about denying trauma or injustice. He honored those deeply. But as awareness grows, the center of gravity must shift inward. You didn't choose your wounds, but you are responsible for how they live through you. To ignore this is to betray the psyche itself. Jung warned against what he called moral laziness after insight. Once you see your shadow, you can't claim innocence. Once you recognize your projections, you can't justify contempt. Once you understand your patterns, you can't hide behind fate. This doesn't demand perfection, only sincerity. The psyche forgives weakness, confusion, even failure. What it cannot tolerate is self-deception. And the consequence of breaking this law? Not sudden ruin, but a slow draining of meaning. Life turns hollow. Success feels empty. Joy fades fast. Relationships lose depth. Motivation vanishes. Jung didn't see this as mere chemical depression. It's the soul withdrawing energy from a life out of alignment with truth. Meaning cannot survive where awareness is betrayed. But when the law is honored, something rare emerges. Inner alignment. Thought, feeling, instinct, and action stop warring. You're not certain, but you're coherent. Not free from pain, but free from inner division. Life becomes an expression of truth, not an escape from it. The awakened stop asking, "How should I appear?" They ask, "How honestly can I live what I already know?" They accept their limits without bitterness and their potential without pride. They understand every choice shapes the psyche, every denial weakens it. This brings gravity to life, and with it meaning, not the fragile kind that depends on happiness, but the enduring kind that holds suffering and still stands firm. For Jung, consciousness wasn't about bliss, it was about meaning. And meaning only arises when the whole psyche is invited to participate. Light and shadow, strength and fragility, certainty and doubt, knowing and not knowing. That's the balance this forbidden law protects. In the end, Jung's message isn't mystical, it's ethical. Awakening demands integrity. Insight demands responsibility. Awareness demands courage. The law is simple. Whatever becomes conscious must be lived, or it will turn against you. So ask yourself, what truth have you seen, but kept at arm's length? What responsibility has awareness placed on you that you've delayed? Awakening doesn't ask for perfection, it asks for honesty, because this law is always active, and the choice to honor it or suffer its consequences is always yours. Thank you for watching.